Oh, what's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Beleza, and welcome to The Right Mindset. Today, we are going to go over how to write better dialogue in your novels. I'm going to explore dialogue in three different ways. First, I'll show you how to look at dialogue and clean it up after you've written out. Second, I want to give you insight on making sure your characters are true to themselves. And third, when does dialogue go from being character to story without saying anything? Basically, are they talking more than they are exploring? Just saying. It's time to develop the right mindset. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate that. Let's do this. So, today's lesson is about writing better dialogue. And as always, I like to say thank you and appreciation for everyone that's been following. If you're new here or been following for quite some time and haven't necessarily committed, and this video tickles your fancy, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. All right, let's get right up to it. So, cleaning up dialogue. First, I'll show you how to look at dialogue and clean it up after you've written it out. In this example, we're going to go right here. Look at that. Isn't that pretty exciting? Look at it. All right. Okay, so first we're going to look at, as it says, here's how to look at dialogue and clean it up after you've written it out. Okay. So first I'm going to read it. Let's see. Do I have more than one example? Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Right. Okay. Did you get the ring for mom's birthday, babe? Yes, I got the ring for mom's birthday. And the burgers for dinner that we promised to bring to the house. I hope you got those. Yes, I got the burgers. Did you speak with your dad to make sure 4 was still okay? No, I didn't remember to call him. All right. So the idea here is this is how to look at your dialogue and clean it up after you've written it out, okay? And the reason we want to do that is because this dialogue is pretty straightforward. It's not necessarily, there's no real character. We can't decipher the difference of it. And by the way, it's okay that I'm not really gonna write like, said you know said Chris. Like, we don't have to worry about that. I just want to look at the dialogue today. All right. So, did you get the ring for your mom's birthday, babe? Right. Yes, I got the ring for my mom's birthday. And the burgers for dinner that we promised to bring to the house. I hope you got those. Yes, I got the burgers. Did you speak with your dad to make sure 4 was still okay? No, I didn't remember to call him. Okay. If we're looking at this from scratch, okay, I just made this up, right? So we have to analyze it first real quick. And clearly these two people were together. All right. And somewhere they could be married, but they're definitely together because Babe is in there. They're going to an event. The boy, or so the girl is saying, did you get the ring for your mom's birthday, babe? Yes, I got the ring for my mom's birthday. And the burgers for the dinner that we promised her. Yes, I got the burgers. Did you speak with your dad to make sure? No, I didn't remember to call him. Okay, so they're going to a party. It's clearly the mom's birthday. They're responsible for bringing some burgers and buns. And more importantly, the attitude. So do we have it? Yes, I got the burgers, right? So now we know that this the partner is constantly berating them, or doesn't trust them, and it turns out they have the right to, because lo and behold, they actually did forget to do everything, right? So how do we make this dialogue a little bit more interesting? So we want to clean it up too. There is a difference between fluff and then there's subtext and things like that. So did you get the ring for your mom's birthday, babe? Your mom is going to love present you got her. Babe. We don't even. Boop, boop. I know. All right. Your mom is going. Oh, wait, wait. Beep, 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 beep. Let's do this. This is the old dialogue. Old dialogue. And this will be the new one. Okay, so. All right. So the new dialogue is your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. Okay. Now, what did we just do? We added a little mystery, a little vagueness to the story. We're also setting the story up a little bit. There's more going on now. Your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. This could be her way of saying, hey, did you get the present? Did you get the ring? Without asking directly. Right? So now, now we get to have some fun. We get to have some fun. We could actually have the person respond in a sense of like they know that they're asking that question. It's right here in my pocket. It's right here in my pocket. Okay. What we're doing now is we're allowing people to follow the story without just being bombarded with straightforward data. We're actually getting to experiencing their relationship a little bit more. So your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. It's right here in my pocket. So we're saying more with less instead of being direct. That's the problem with some dialogue. Some dialogue gets too direct. For example, did you get the ring for your mom's birthday? All right, so now we know it's the mother's birthday and we know that there's a ring. And then just saying, yes, I got the ring for my mother's birthday, that's just qualifying the response. That's like when Vader said, no, I am your father. And then Yoda in the next movie was like, it is true. Your father, he is, right? Whatever the line is. It's just verifying and qualifying the information. In this situation, we're actually allowing the relationship to showcase through the dialogue alone. And that's what the power of being vague but informative and then kind of letting their relationship make sense. All right. Now we have to get the burgers for dinner that we promised to bring to the house. I hope you got those. Now, obviously, I could write action too. Like I could be like, Melissa checks the bags, right? And then you could have the guy say, the burgers are in there. Here. Okay. You could do that. Okay. And now we have some action. But this example is for dialogue only. So how do we, I kind of like that little moment, she's like checking the burger. Because you don't always have to be straightforward. And, your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. It's right here in my pocket. Are you going to tell her that I helped you pick it out? Right, so now we're getting a little playful here, okay? Is it playful? Is it just annoying? It's like, hard has your name first, right? Or we could be like, she'd ever believe I could pick out such a beautiful ring on my own. Okay, so we got the ring information in there, right? Because again, there's certain things you need to add into your scene. We need fuel and fire and things like that. But we don't need to say ring and birthday twice, right? We don't. But now we have a scene out of that. And by the way, less is more doesn't necessarily mean you can't have people say, like talk more. It just means whatever they say, let it have more impact. This has impact. Your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. There's information that, okay, There's a present that's needed for your mom. It's most likely for something. It's celebrating something this year. Could be Christmas, it could be a birthday. That's not as important. What's important is the information that there is a present and they're going to see their mom. And then it's right here in my pocket. So now we know the present is small. It's in his pocket. So that's important. We're also seeing the relationship that's a part of their relationship is being represented in this. Like, they're shorthand with each other. Are you going to tell her that I helped you pick it out? Now we're leading into a little bit more relationship reality between the mother, the woman, and the let's just say it's the wife and the husband, and then the husband confirms as if she'd ever believe I could pick out such a beautiful ring on my own. So now we know the present is a ring. We know that the wife is I'm not going to say controlling, but the wife is on top of things, and the husband isn't necessarily always best. So we're setting that up so we can do the did you call your father to confirm the time, the stuff. So did you speak with your dad to make sure 4 was still okay, which is the time? Okay. As if so instead of saying did your dad, right? um Your father must have been excited when you confirmed uh, the time when you confirmed the time today. Right. So instead of saying, "Did you speak with your dad to make sure 4 was still okay?" Now it's more or less we're following this. Your mom is going to love the present. We're following that kind of feel. She has a little bit of personality. We're seeing consistency in her personality. Yeah, it's consistent that she's asking questions, but this is not very strong dialogue. This is just too direct, and more importantly, there's really no character in it. Personally, I'm not, like it's just that. There's no rhythm to it, and your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. It's right here in my pocket. Are you going to tell her that I helped you pick it out? As if she'd ever believe I could pick out such a beautiful ring on my own. Your father must be your father must be excited. Your father must have sounded excited when you confirmed the time today. Okay, so now we can say I didn't necessarily get a chance to call. He said it was 4. Going to be at 4. All right, so now there's a couple things going on here. Instead of saying no, I didn't remember to call him, and did you talk to your dad to see if it's right? There's still that flair of relationship involved. Your father must have sounded excited when you confirmed the time today, and I didn't necessarily get a chance to call. But if he said it was 4, it's going to be at 4. So it's showing that he has some respect and love for his father, and that he trusts whatever his father says. But at the same time, we could add that energy, and we could have the wife just be like I'll just text him on the way over. I'll just text him on the way over, and then we could do some playback on are you going to tell him that I tell, right? So we could have him, the husband, say please don't tell him that I had anything to do, right? Okay, now obviously, like, that could come off bad. So if I was writing a tag, it could be like, he said. Okay. All right, now we know he's playing around. All right. But anyway, so we went from very straightforward dialogue that is just kind of like call and response. Did you get the ring for your mom's birthday, babe? Yes, I got the ring for my mom's birthday. And the burgers for dinner that we promised to bring to the house? I hope you got those. Yes, I got the burgers. Did you speak with your dad to make sure 4 was still okay? No, I didn't remember to call him. There's nothing going on. There's very little personality. And then we get this new scene with just dialogue. Ignore the he said with a smirk. I just added that as an explanation of something. So now it's your mom is going to love the present you got her this year. It's right here in my pocket. Are you going to tell her that I helped you pick it out? As if she'd ever believe I could pick out such a beautiful ring on my own. Your father must have sounded excited when you confirmed the time today. I didn't necessarily get a chance to call, but if he said it was 4, it's going to be at 4. I'll just text him on the way over. Please don't tell him that I had anything to do with it. Okay. So now that's the power of dialogue, is you want to create some sort of relationship. But there are 2 rules to dialogue. All right. There's make sure you add the information and make sure the information moves the story forward. Your mom is going to love the present, your mom, this year. That's all information. That's 3 points information. It helps the plot. It's right here in my pocket. Okay. So now we know where the present is. Okay. Are you going to tell her that I helped you pick it out? So this is setting up their relationship, and it's setting up probably how it's going to go when they get to the party. So we're setting up the next couple scenes, right? This is just relationship building, but it's also fueling the relationship between the husband and the husband's mother, and most likely setting up something else, right? Because that's our goal, is like anything we say or do, it should set up something. So this is showing that the mother would never believe that the son even picked out a beautiful ring for her, right? So that could lead to something else. That could fuel something later. Your father must have sounded excited when you confirmed today. Now we know that the father's alive, so there's more information confirming. I didn't necessarily get a chance to call, but if he said 4, it's going to be 4. That's very telling of who the son believes the father is, the son's relationship with the father, and also, again, that's setting something up. If he said it was 4, it's going to be at 4, which means that if he says something later, the audience should understand that what he says is concrete. And then we're also setting up that the wife is very much has a little anxiety. Okay, and then please don't tell her. So now we're seeing their relationship, that even though it has this kind of like she's checking up on him through her own like playing words, that's their relationship, and neither one is taking it hard. They're not in a bad relationship. He said with a smirk, it's like I know what your quirks are. I know what your tics are. I'm okay with that. I love you no matter what. So, but you know how I am, and you know that I'm going to nudge back, and that's who we are. So, here's more examples, by the way. Let's do it. Should we do one more example, or 10 points to the fiber? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the next lesson. Boop. All right. So this is characters being true to their choices. All right. Characters being true to the choices. What is this? 1 second. Uno momento. All right. Okay. Okay. Ready? Being true to their character. Second, the second thing I want to go over is give you insight on making sure your characters are true to themselves. Characters feel, sound, and act like themselves when there is a consistency to their behavior and dialogue. Repeating certain words, phrases, even physical behavior helps maintain truth to the character. In truth, you need to remember what activities what activates them to speak, their triggers, their subject matter, their what excites them. So basically, there has to be certain words, terms, phrases, subjects, ideas that trigger a person, not in a negative way, but triggers them to respond. Like, oh, I'm passionate about that thing. I heard you talking about football. I know stuff about football. Oh, it annoys me when somebody uses the wrong, their grammar is terrible or whatever the case may be. Okay, so some characters are more reserved. Others need to be right. Characters need to feel heard, or they care. They don't care if you're listening or not. And these are characteristics that should fit within your dialogue. And you have to remember, when you're writing characters, to stay true to who they are, what is being said or not being said, or how it's being said or not being said, is going to influence how characters react and when they react. If you just have characters talking just to get stuff out, it might not help your story add depth. Dialogue is there to help the plot move forward, but not at the cost of your character's integrity. Think of dialogue less about, I need the audience to know this, and more, or this needs to be said to set up the next scene, and more about what are their motivations. Of your characters, who is more likely to say or present these key points, the things that you need said? Of your characters, who is more likely to speak straightforward or ramble to find the point? If you've seen The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon and Leonard have different word choices, speech patterns, and prompts. Sheldon corrects people when they are wrong. He loves factoids. He hates when he's not the center of attention, and he likes it his way. Leonard is there to help his friends. He enjoys being low-key. He rarely lets his intelligence define who he is, and he has empathy. Think about who your characters are and why. Imagine Howard says something about them playing Dungeons and Dragons. You don't want Leonard to jump out and explain who invented the game, as much as you don't want Sheldon asking Howard if A, he wants a drink, and B, complimenting him for his choice. Yes, the information needs to be said, but the audience needs to know that they are playing D&D. The audience needs to know that Gary Gygax and David Harnison, the audience needs to know that Gary Gygax and David Harnison basically created Dungeons and Dragons to set up the joke, or call back later explaining it. And yes, the audience needs to see their relationship dynamic. If you give each character the freedom to explore the rainbow of possibilities without placing limitations on them, then you'll have a full room of clones who all have different names and looks. And this is the problem. So even in that situation with Sheldon, Howard, and Leonard, if Howard brings up playing Dungeons and Dragons, Sheldon might say, did you know the original creators of D&D was Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, right? Arneson. And then Leonard might be the one who says, do you want a drink? Or, oh, that'd be great. Do you want a DM? Do you want to be the game master of this session? To Howard. Whereas Sheldon might say, in response to that, no, Leonard, you are the game master. You always run the campaigns. It can't just have, how do we know if he's even going to be good? Right? So those are the characters' voices. They're coming out because we know what's triggering their responses. So Sheldon has a passion for factoids. When they brings up a game, oh, did Gary and blah blah blah, right? And then Leonard's like, oh, let's play. But you know what? I'm considerate and have empathy. Since you want to play, do you want to be the game master? And then we find out that Leonard's usually game master, which is showcasing the emotional connection and who Leonard is. Because Sheldon is complaining that, no, you're changing it up. We can't change it up. I don't like change, and it has to be my way. And you're always the game master. So even though Sheldon is responding in discomfort to the change, we're learning about Leonard. And that's the importance of characters. And just because you need information expressed and you need data out there for your story to make sense, You you have to look at your characters deeper and say who's more likely to express these things and who's more likely to infer these things and whose behavior is going to dictate these things. Or it's just a bunch of people with different names, okay? Ways to stay true to yours and to the characters. When you express a character's goals and their motivations, you give audiences an insight into who they are. Not all people have the same goals and motivations. Yes, they might have similar goals, but even two people wanting to go to Disney World have different motivations. Expressing goals and motivations do not have to be point blank. You can play around with it by exploring the plot, conversations, and spreading it out through the story. By spreading it out through the story, it gives you a chance to grow your character and characters and maintain some consistency in those characters. Now, subtext is going to be your friend when hiding the point blank approach, okay? And it allows for characters' voices to come through. Story progress opens the door for character growth. An optimistic character starts your story, and by the end of the novel, they are pessimists. Okay, so story progresses, or the story progressing, will open doors for character growth. And you're allowed to take a character that's one way and change who they are by the end of the story. And now you have direction and you can see how they change. Right. And the first example I give you is that an optimistic character starts a story off, but by the end of the novel, they are more of a pessimist. Right. Characters who don't believe in themselves or have confidence end the story as stronger people. Walter White from Breaking Bad began as a loser who couldn't speak up for himself and became a drug lord people feared. They weren't even the same character by the end of the story. They had evolved so deeply that they became a feared figure that ultimately destroyed themselves. Spoiler alert. Use the story and what happens to characters to influence who they are and what they become. Their journey is as much affected by the story as the narrative is, and the experience your readers have is a part of that journey. Now remember, your characters, just like people, have habits, phrases, and go-to responses. A character stands out when you give them realistic MOs. Now, obviously, Joey from Friends, how you doing? And Chandler Bing from Friends says, could you be any more annoying? Okay, the articulation, okay, of how Chandler speaks is to him as Joey's flirtation is, okay? Joey is more likely to flirt with a woman. Chandler is not. Mike from Suits has eidetic memory and can recall anything he reads. This influences him to be an amazing recall device for certain situations. Harvey from Suits doesn't have the same kind of memory as Mike, but he knows his movie pop culture. So that affects the way they discuss and have situations. We, as people, all have our responses to certain things. Is the room getting tense? Who makes a joke even though they're at a funeral? Is your character getting pushed into a corner emotionally? Are they aggressive, stand up for themselves? Fight or flight is a thing. The person they loved from afar asked them out. How do they respond? Are they shy, happy, confident? Responses are great ways to keep a character consistent through their dialogue when you know who and what they will respond with. Again, Joey and Chandler are highly unlikely to respond to situations the same way. All right. Are you saying anything or not? All right. Are you saying anything? And this brings us to the third point. When does dialogue go from being character to story without saying anything? Basically, are they talking more than they are exploring? What does all that mean? Well, you want character in your characters, but their character should be driving the plot of your story's narrative. If you have characters do things to do them, so you can say, hey, look at my character being a character, you're taking away from the narrative. Characters need to say something more than just saying anything for less. Okay? What does it look like when a character says more or less? Okay? Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. All right. What does a character say when saying more or less? This brings us to our example. Let's just bloop, bloop. What's going on here? Bloop. Okay. Okay. The first example is just a moment where he talks about how he basically loves apples and it helps him read people. All right. It doesn't add to the story. The plot is being pushed aside. Okay. So let's see that. Derek shaves an apple on the couch. Melissa, if we need to. Oh, by the way, I don't have this formatted correctly with dialogue. Again, it's about the dialogue. It's not about how it would look in a book. It's just the dialogue we're focusing on. Okay. So David shaves an apple on the couch. Melissa, if we need $250,000 to open our theater, it's going to take a few more investors than we thought. Derek says, I've always been a fan of apples because they keep the doctor away. Melissa responds, what does being a fan of apples have to do with us trying to find a way to make money to open our theater? Derek, you can tell a lot about a person by what kind of apples a person likes. Melissa, always a help. You know that, Derek? Derek takes a bite of the apple. I know. Eric, what about asking friends to help out or if they know anyone? So this is the example of nothing is really being said when it comes to Derek. Derek is just, I like apples, and he thinks that, apples tell you what other, it tells you about people. Melissa is presenting the plot information. The plot is we need to raise $250,000 to open a theater. How are we going to get it? So now we know it, their motivation is to open a theater. What's the conflict? They don't have the money, and they're trying to figure out a solution, which is, do we ask somebody? So, this first example doesn't really add to the story. The plot is being pushed aside almost in that moment. Hey, investors, then we thought it's going to take a few more investors than we thought. And then Derek saying this, well, I've always been a fan of apples because it has nothing to do, it's just too crazy just to have a character scene. However, this other version of the scene has a little bit more strength to it. Okay. Derek shaves an apple on the couch. Melissa, if we need $250,000 to open our theater, it's going to take a few more investors than we thought. Derek says, who here loves apples? Melissa responds, what does being a fan of apples have to do with us trying to find a way to make money to open our theater? Derek, what do apples keep away? Melissa, I don't know. Can we focus? Derek, doctors. Apples keep doctors away. Melissa, and we should reach out to local doctors and dentists for the money. That's actually not a bad idea. I know, as Derek takes a bite of the apple. So Derek obviously loves apples. He's eating apples, and he's talking about apples, and he uses apples to solve the problem, which we set up that they need money for the theater, and they have to raise it from investors. Who are we going to ask? We're also saying Melissa's trying to stay focused, but that creates tunnel vision, therefore creating a character trait. Derek is very calm and collective, and he's using some sort of abstract element to find a solution. And then Eric is here where he's sort of like the mediator, oh, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. And then Derek, clearly he has that devil may cry, like, who cares, kind of like, I know. And also anybody who eats an apple in a story is an a-hole. Okay, so in the second example, it fuels the plot and leads to a solution or a potential solution while also allowing us to see how he enjoys apples. The other thing that's happening in this moment is not only do we find a solution, but we found motivation to move forward. We can leave the scene, and now we can start working on trying to find doctors and dentists that will lend us the money. Why is this important with what we showcased in this new version of the scene? Because now the story is seeding the potential to include him reading a person later in the story when they like or don't like an apple, even when he offers the doctor an apple and one of them says they hate apples. It's Derek's way of saying stay away from that particular doctor. Even though the second example is longer, the scene fills up. We see the process of the characters building their relationships, who they are, and also multiple values are brought to light. Derek's personality, along with Melissa's, is shining through. Okay? The goal is if you want to add some character into the scene, let the character work. You want them to work through the scene and help the plot or subplot get pushed forward. There's nothing worse than using up your words and page count just because you want to have fun moments with a character. You can have fun moments with characters in moments that fuel the scenes forward. A good rule of thumb is to have every word, action, scene, and beat fuel your plot and subplots forward. When your story is filled to the brim with powerful moments that are fueled by every word, action, scene, and beat fueling your plot and subplots forward, you'll see a strong, tight story. But when your word count balloons up because you want to keep all the cool and awesome fun scenes that have nothing to do with the story in the first place, you're eating up the potential for a clean read and a strong, straightforward narrative. Okay, final thoughts. Writing better dialogue begins with motivation and understanding how that motivation directs your characters. Think about what they want in life, then the plot, their subplots, and finally what they want in that scene. Break it down from the biggest picture of their desired needs and how that motivates them into the smaller realm of the story. A plot is only as good as the motivations the characters have within them to take action within those plots. For fun, an exercise that has helped me is when I'm watching a show or a movie, reading a book, I pick 3 characters. There will always be at least 3 main characters in any story. Even Total Recall has 3 main characters: Douglas Quaid, Melina, and the main bad guy, Cohagen. Choose the characters and write down things that stand out about them. Their word choices, when they choose to speak, the length of their dialogue, what is their motivations for the story, what are their motivations for each scene. Break down how they react to things. What makes them speak? What makes them react? Or even triggers them to take action or inaction. And remember, a trigger doesn't have to be a negative response. It could just be something you're passionate about and then you just love talking about it. You will begin to see how different characters can truly be when you start understanding how characters turn out in other stories. More importantly, when you understand how the breakdown process works, you can start doing it to your own stories. And I mean, read your novel and write the notes out. Don't just write the notes out that you have in your head because you know the story. Oh, well, this character is a blank, 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 blank. No, read the story and let the story dictate your notes and see if the notes correlate with what you originally created for the characters. Now, in the next video in this series, we will be going over what makes dialogue effective. I will go over several elements that make dialogue truly effective in your novels. We will explore how dialogue must do certain things for it to be of value to your story and the characters that are saying it. Question: if you had to give up either snacks and drinks during writing sessions or music, which would you find more difficult to say goodbye to and why? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you want to learn a little bit about the craft, maybe some insight to the industry, and hear from fellow authors like yourself, please subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye!